we need to talk about Xbox. So first off, Happy New Year, everybody. Hopefully 2023 is a good one for all of us. And I want to talk about what's probably going to be the biggest story of the year, and it's going to be Xbox versus the Federal Trade Commission. So the Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, has finally pretty much done their job and is filing a lawsuit against Xbox to prevent them from acquiring Activision Blizzard. It was the biggest news of last year that Xbox and Microsoft wanted to acquire Activision Blizzard and King, which is also part of it, by the way. And everyone just assumed that the deal would go through. And everyone actually probably thought that we would start seeing Xbox Game Pass have Activision games by this point. But governments are making that a little more difficult for Microsoft than they probably wanted. Throughout last year, there were challenges from the European government trying to keep them in check, but now that the FTC has gotten involved, it's going to be a lot more complicated because now this is at the home of both companies. Activision and Microsoft are both American companies. So what does this mean? Well, first off, it means that a government body is actually going to try to do its freaking job in the United States, considering that for the most part, our government, the United States government, has looked the other way when it comes to a lot of these big acquisitions. You can see how Disney has pretty much been buying everybody and everything, and how they now pretty much own everything as a result. These are all monopolies, and normally that's supposed to be illegal, but in case you haven't noticed, in America, the rich have been gaining more and more power because they keep on paying off people on the government side of things to pretty much not do their jobs. So quite honestly, this is a shock to me because I figured that the same would be true for this deal, but I suppose it's not, because now we have the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, actually challenging the acquisition. Now before we go further, let me make clear my stance on this. I am not for this merger at the end of the day. There are perks to it. For example, it'll get rid of Bobby Kotick as CEO of Activision, probably. We don't have absolute confirmation of that, but it seems like Phil Spencer will be kicking him out because Activision Blizzard will become part of Xbox Games, making Phil Spencer the new CEO of that. So he has no need for Bobby Kotick. Plus, that guy is poison right now to the reputation and namesake of Activision Blizzard. But despite that upside, and possibly the benefits that the people who work there will get for working with Microsoft, since it's a widely known secret that the workplace at Microsoft seems to be pretty good, I am overall not for this deal because it is unequivocally a huge acquisition for Microsoft, and it will result in a monopoly. Sony has actually been trying to say that to the European side of things of this acquisition by saying of how important Call of Duty is, but that strategy is actually pretty dumb, because even if they were just to acquire Call of Duty, which they're not, they're getting the whole company, not just Call of Duty, that would not be a monopoly. Because even though Call of Duty is the biggest franchise out right now, that doesn't mean it always will be. Then it could just be one property. Big deal. With Sony, and quite frankly, what we need to be realizing is Microsoft is not just buying Call of Duty in the Activision Blizzard / King name. They are acquiring Call of Duty. They are acquiring Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, Pitfall, Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, Overwatch, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Skylanders, Candy Crush, and God knows how many other IP that these three companies together own. That is insane. Even if they're not using all of them right now, it is astounding how many IPs they're going to be obtaining and can be used exclusively for the Microsoft platform. That's really the problem. There's going to be so many IP that Microsoft earns as a part of this acquisition. Activision Blizzard is like the third biggest third-party publisher in the industry. I believe the only ones that are bigger are Electronic Arts and Embracer Group. I'm not exactly even sure where Tencent falls in. They might even be in there. The FTC has every right to challenge this particular acquisition because it is going to form a monopoly. And it's not going to be bad just for Sony. It's going to be bad for all of the other companies, third-party companies that are in the industry. And for that very reason, and really should be stopped. Now, I know there's some people who are going to challenge this and say that it's actually not that bad, or the government should stay out of these companies' affairs. I don't agree with that at all. That's exactly what the government's supposed to be doing. But outside of specific fanboyism for the Xbox brand or something, there's nothing that really holds enough water to really justify why Microsoft and the Xbox brand should be able to acquire all of these IPs and all of the potential money and exclusivity that it's going to grant them. And then it also looks like Microsoft is ready to go head to head with the FTC, with them already trying to question how some of their information is off and is inaccurate due to what was said by the European governments, or how the FTC just in its existence is unconstitutional. That's just greedy, grubbing, money-making corporation speak to me talking right there. Microsoft and Xbox are not going to get their way, so they're going to try to just completely eliminate that branch and that subsection of the government. That is insane. But let me know what you think in the comments about this. I'm sure I'm going to be talking about this much more as the year goes by, because it's probably going to be the biggest story of the year. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next Colorwind Talks.